Can BetterPress plates foil? Let's find out. So I have this BetterPress plate and the matching dies for it, and I'm going to use it on my Glimmer system just to see if it's going to work. Now all the plates that are intended for the BetterPress, they do have that silver color, while the ones for the Glimmer are copper, so you can easily distinguish between them. Now I'm going to create my sandwich as if I would use a copper plate, a plate that is meant for the Glimmer. So I will start with this silver foil, place it shiny side up, and then on top upside down your plate, just as you would normally use your Glimmer plates. Then I'm going to use some scotch tape just to make sure that these are not going to move on me as I move the sandwiches between machines. And now I need to wait for my Glimmer hot foil machine to be ready. So the second light should be green. Once it turned green, I can place my sandwich on top, and then I press the third button, and I have to wait until this green light stops flashing. Then I know that my plate is nice and warm and it is ready to place the couple of plates on top of them and then run it through my die cutting machine. You can see here it is all ready. Now with hot foiling, and depending on what thickness of cardstock you are using, you may need to use a seam here. I don't find that with my machine I need one extra seam, since with foiling normally this sandwich works just fine, but I always make sure that I run it through the machine very slowly. As you have seen, this is in real speed, just to make sure that it's going to have a good contact with the foil. Now let's remove everything and see if it worked. Now be careful at this stage, you don't want to touch the plate with your fingers since it is warm. I'm letting this to cool down a little bit until I take my machine out of the way, and then I do have those scotch tapes, so I need to peel it off and let's see the results together. Now I zoomed in for you. It is really difficult to catch on camera, but it really worked, which means that I can definitely use designs that I like when they are from the BetterPress line on my foiling machine. And now since I do have the matching dies, I did run them through my die cutting machine to cut out all the sentiments, and now let's make a card to use at least one of them. So I'm going for a winter card, and I'm starting with two panels that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have here an embossing folder which is called Streamline. It's from the new collection by Simon Harley. I am going to spray just a little bit with water, very lightly, don't make it super wet, and I'm going to place that towards the top of the embossing folder. You can see the embossing folder is quite long. I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine, and you can see the beautiful slopes that you get. These are supposed to be, how do you call the marks that the skis are leaving on the snow? Absolutely gorgeous. And then I will repeat the same process with the other panel. Again, a little bit of spraying, just a little bit. Then I'm going to place it towards the bottom. So this way I will end up having pretty much the same design, but a little bit offset on the second layer. And this is going to give me the opportunity to use my scissors and cut out a little panel out of the second one. I'm going to place one on top of the other so you can see how the design comes together, but a little bit offset. Hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to explain here. And basically what I'm doing here is using my scissors and follow the lines from one of those curves. This is going to actually create a second panel which is going to match the design of the one underneath, and it is going to give the opportunity to have a second layer on top of my card so that I can pop it on top. Hopefully you can see what I mean here. So the lines match perfectly on the top layer. I am going to use some foam tape at the back and stick it on top of the main base, and of course I will use my scissors to chop off any excess. So again my panel will end up being 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this is going to be my background where I will build my little winter scene, and I do have that layer which is popped up, and I will be able to tag things behind to create different layers on my card. So let's start by putting together my skier, and for that I'm going to use these are actually a couple of die sets from the latest release, and I'm just going to use the skier from one die set and the tree from the other one. I just used solid colored cardstock for all the little pieces, and I'm just using my white glue to put everything together. For the clothes I went with shades of blue for a very simple look, both for the mittens, the scarves and everything. And here is how adorable it looks once you put it together. Just follow the instructions, it's really easy. And I have a tiny little foam squares at the back of him, so I'm going to place him along one of the trail marks. Just making sure that he's actually coming down the slope. Absolutely gorgeous. Now if you notice, I went with silver cardstock for his skis so that I can match that silver that we have on the sentiment. Now I can tag behind that slope some of the trees. So you see my little scene is already coming together, and I do have a few extra trees that I want to add. You can add as many as you like, you can have a full forest if you want. I want to tag the other green one along that trail. So I'm using my craft knife and I'm going to cut a little slit. Hopefully you can see how it looks, and then I can place inside and through that slit the other tree. Absolutely love the look. I am going to move it around, and once I'm happy with the placement, I'm just going to add a dab of glue there to keep it in place. So now all that's left to do is to add a few finishing touches, and of course I need snow on my scene. So for that I'm going to add a little bit of snow by adding some white splatters. For making sure that it's not going to fall on his tiny head, I just place a scrap piece of paper there to keep it clean. And of course, white on white is not going to show. That's why I'm making sure that my tiny splatters are falling on top of the tree and on top of his clothes. It looks awesome already. All that's left to do is to add the sentiment, and we do have a bunch of them to play with. And of course, there are many areas where you can place a sentiment. Just choose your favorite and add it there. I decided to go with You Are So Cool. And I do have foam square at the back of that sentiment, so it is popped. And I'm going to kind of nest it between my skier and the trees. So my panel is ready. All I have to do is to just stick it on top of a pre-folded card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And that concludes the card for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Just like always, links to everything I used can be found down below in the description. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you all next time.